If, let me check. I think we are live. I think we are live. This okay. We are audible as well. So let's get started. Hi everyone. Welcome to another lecture. So today we'll be doing some mini projects on React.js. Now we have already discussed the basics of React.js in previous classes, and we'll be trying to use those same concepts to build something today, like maybe one or two things today. So that depends on how much time we have after one project. So this is the part of the React.js series that we are running now. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Soham Mukherjee. I'm a software developer. Currently, I'm working with Google as a software development engineer, but before that, I've worked with CodeNation for 1 year. I have been into ASM ISVC regionals 2 times, 2017 and 19. I'm also a 6-star coder at CodeChef. What will I be teaching you here? I'll be teaching about web backend, React, system design, cloud services, data structures, and algorithms. If you haven't joined us on the Telegram channel yet, make sure you join us there. And I'm waiting for more folks to join in. I'm pretty sure. Okay, many of you have joined in actually. So yes, if you have some questions, you can definitely ask them right now, like from previous classes or anything in general. So yes, and if you are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified about whenever I'm coming live. And also make sure you like this, like if you're liking the videos, make sure you like them and share them with your friends, so that it might help them as well. So with that, we'll be starting with the agenda for the day. So yeah, before that, I like to take some questions in case if you have any, and also maybe we can quickly recapitulate on all the concepts that we have done. What mini project will we do? What mini project that will do? Let's see. So I have two plans right now. Maybe if we are able to do two of them, that will be great, right? So one of them will be something similar to an online ID. We'll try to make the front end of an online of an ID. And the second can be a simple project like involving something like cards. Just because I want to show you about API calls, how API calls are made, how do you actually use the data from the API calls and these things. So for that reason, as I don't have any APIs available with me right now, so maybe we can use the GitHub API and create some GitHub cards kind of thing, like where the cards of various users will be coming in, and you can do some operations on them. So that's can we make an online chess game? Online chess game, I think that we should not do that right now, because just we haven't covered many things like Redux and those things, so it might be a bit complicated. But again, like definitely we can make a online chess game, but I don't see any learning point there. So maybe not today at least, like maybe in some later video, but not today at least. So but definitely we can make like two-player chess game. Definitely we can make, not a single player. Maybe two-player, I think we can make something, but means for single player we need AI and those things. But anyways, let me know if you have any other doubts. Do you have any other doubts regarding like whatever we have done with React till now? Or let's just quickly, is this the last lecture? Most likely on this channel, yes, it is the last lecture, but let's see. uh, uh I I'll definitely have some announcements. I have some announcements for you, so just wait for some time and you will definitely get to hear about them. Just like have some patience. One last yes, one last what? If you to build online admission system as a major project, okay, can you make those announcements? Not now, not now, definitely not now, but sometime soon. Okay, anyways, let's just quickly go through, like recapitulate everything that we have done till now. So this was a sample, this was some sample And will content be private? The content here will, I don't think it will be private or it will be deleted or anything. The channel will just be paused for some time, maybe like 1-2 months or maybe more than that. We are not sure about that yet. But yeah, definitely like it will be paused for some time. They will reevaluate few things like how like what they can do better and those things maybe, and maybe in your future it's resumed. uh, so I don't think it will be like made private or it will be deleted or anything like that. It will be there, definitely it will be there, but the activity will be paused for some time. All activities will be paused for some time. Okay, so that's basically about the plan side as far as I know, right? As far as I know, that's the plan. Yellow. Okay, let's just quickly maybe go through everything. So we know about states. What are states? States help you maintain like cool. Let me know if you have any other questions. So states, what are states? States help you maintain like if you want to maintain some data, like when you're changing that data, you want to update the component as well or update the UI as well. So that is something that you maintain in states, right? So React component will react to state changes and prop changes. So props are generally like, if you might not want to create states in certain components, you might want them to just be presentational components completely. So what are presentational components? They just are like, they just display something. They don't care about what is the logic involved and those things. They just are caring about how to display things properly. And in those presentational components, what you do is you pass props, and when the props are changing, you basically like get the data updated. So they are not changing the data, right? Will context API replace Redux? Yes, context API does replace Redux, yes. So uh, yeah, that's about what states are and what props are. We know how to create states, so we'll be only using functional components from now on. Like we saw both examples of class based component and functional components. We also came across the lifecycle methods for the class based component, and how can we do the equivalent things in functional component, right? So definitely will not write anything in class based component from now. Whatever we do is within functional components. So from now, whatever components we write will be completely functional components, right? So that will be there, and you can actually look into some examples like that. This is how you create a state in functional component. You use the use state hook that will help you create states, and then you can pass props, like you can take examples like fruit basket .js. Here you take props here, fruits and handle click, and then you have corresponding other things as well, right? So this is basically so these are some things that we have covered till now. Okay, I hope that you guys remember everything, and uh, with that we can start. And if you have some doubts, definitely like feel free to ask me. We'll try to like definitely I'll try to help you out there. Okay, so with that we'll start. Let's um so first, what do you want to build? Let's just first try building. What do we want to build first? Uh, okay, let's just try building the online ID first, an ID first, and then we'll move into like the second part. If we have time, definitely. So I'll just maybe delete everything for now. Let's just delete every code here. So app.cs is needed. CSS use state in React, maybe it's needed, maybe not. I will figure that out later. Let's just keep the div, and let's just remove everything here from other than the div, and we'll give the styles later on, right? We'll give the styles later on, whatever it is, and we'll remove these things as well completely. Okay. Use date, we'll see if it's needed. Sorting visualizer, अरे भाई नहीं भाई, वो सब नहीं करना है अभी. We don't want to do those things right now. We haven't learned enough that we can't do anything complicated right now, but definitely something simple. Like we haven't even, although it's a single page, definitely we can do, but why like animations, बहुत animations का खेल है. I don't want to get into animations. One famous front-end interface question: making comment, reply, and reply to multi-level replies. If you can make this as a mini project, it will be helpful for our interviews. So Sharan, that's actually an interesting thing. Definitely, yes, that's actually a good good suggestion that you've given. So what we can do is maybe something like that we can do in the second project, like that we'll build today. First of all, let's just build a simple ID, or maybe in the ID as well we can build a comment feature. Maybe something like if you want to ask some comment or something like that, ask something, you can post some comment, and there can be multiple levels of those comments. So definitely it's a very good question that you have given actually. So I'll definitely try to do that. Okay, आज definitely वो करने का try करेंगे, ठीक है. चलो, let's get started. So before we actually create an ID, so there are some predefined components that are available with you, right? No, actually not designing. It's not about designing. It's more about how to get things done, right? Or more like how to write the logical part, right? I'm not focusing on how to design things, because you just have to know CSS properly and that's all. But the logical part plays more in is more important. So that's what I'll be focusing on, how to build a page, like the logical part, right? And after that you can definitely style it up using CSS. You can will do a bit of CSS, but will not make a complete like proper responsive website or something like that. Okay, so or will it compile code? Compile, no, compile, it will not compile. We don't have the backend ready. If it has to compile code, remember that we had a code written for us, like we had a backend code written for compiling and those things. So we would have that API, we would be calling that API with the code, and then we would get the result. So that's how it would have worked, but we don't have that deployed right now, so definitely we cannot use that, right? But again, like you can definitely try like attaching the two pieces. I'll be definitely showing you how to make API calls and those things, but no, will not be compiling anything, right? Cool. Anyways, let's get started. So when you are actually creating something on React, right, there is a, as I said, React is very popular, right? React is very popular, so it has already a lot of things built, right? A lot of components have already been built on React, and you don't have to rebuild those things. You can just reuse those components. So there is Npm Registry, where if you are building some component, let's say you are thinking that this component might be used by lots of people, right? So if you're using what you can do is you can publish to Npm Registry, and then other people can actually use your components. They can download your components and use them in the project, in their projects, right? So definitely that's something that you can do. So we have multiple similar components that will help us, like that will be using today for helping us out with various things. First thing that will go into let me just close this. First thing that will go into is Bootstrap, right? The first thing that will go into is Bootstrap. So Bootstrap, I think everyone knows what Bootstrap is. It will provide you with some generally, like when you talk about Bootstrap in HTML CSS part, it's basically some styles that are already defined, and you can use those styles to like style up your elements, right? There is button, there are navigation bars and those things, right? But we also have Bootstrap components for React, right? We have Bootstrap components for React, which is called React Bootstrap. What you can do is with React Bootstrap, you can actually reuse the components that has been created, React components that has been created by with Bootstrap, and you can just use them on your projects, right? So definitely let's try using Bootstrap, because Bootstrap is one of the most popular libraries for predefined CSS. So predefined components. So we'll just use Bootstrap, right? So this is you have to go to getting started. Whenever you're going to a library, you just have to go to the getting started page, and you have to see what are the various dependencies that you have to install and how do you configure up your application, right? So first thing that tells us to install React Bootstrap, right? So let's just install React Bootstrap. So we'll go to let's go to terminal, new terminal, and we'll paste this, right? Npm install React Bootstrap. So it will just install. Meanwhile, let's go here and we'll see more things. Okay, these things, and this is mean.js. If you want to use the CDN to get the Bootstrap components, instead of writing npm install, if you want to get it from the CDN, you can directly like do something like this, right? You will get it. For styles, you will also get the styles. You will also get a CSS file, right? You will also get the Bootstrap CSS file. So definitely if you want to just style up things, if you don't want to use a predefined React component for Bootstrap, you just want to use the Bootstrap styles, you can definitely use that using you just have to import this CSS file. So we'll do that as well, because we might need it somewhere. So let's just see. Okay, so let's just import this. We'll just import this as well. But before that, it will wait for it to complete installation. Okay, and also once this is done, like this is the only setup that's needed. After that, we don't need anything for now. So what we'll do is we'll go to introduction part, maybe not here actually. Sorry, we'll go to components. We'll go to components because we want to browse what are the various components that will get out of Bootstrap. So we'll go to the components section. So you can see that these are some components that are predefined within Bootstrap, right? You can see these many components are predefined within Bootstrap, and you can just use them like out of the box. You don't have to write any code. You just have to import the components, right? Or use the component on your code. So it's installed, right? It's installed. So let's actually go here. In this first one, we'll just import this bootstrap dist and min.css. So it's calculating its size and it will give it in some time. So okay, I think, is it done? Okay, anyways, if let's see if we have the styles available with us. We can actually understand like this: button class name. So class name is equals to button, and let's call it click me. Not sure if bootstrap has been added to our project, but let's hope that it is. So I've just reloaded, and we'll try to open this and see what we'll just see if bootstrap is actually loaded, right? So it's compiling right now. Let's wait for it to complete compiling, and it has completed. So we'll go to our browser and let's start localhost 3000. Let's see what we have. So we have click me, and we don't have any styles. Okay, let's see if we uh one second, I'll just explain to you. I'm just seeing if bootstrap is actually loaded or is it not. Let's just see quickly. Okay, we do have bootstrap loaded for us, so definitely it's working. Okay, one more thing to be like actually tell you, this css file, actually you cannot use the styles as is. I don't think you can use the styles as is. You have to maybe you have to, or you should be able to use. I'm not sure why you am I not, but again, like definitely as we have got a blue button. So yes, make your window low below the code, full screen if it is possible. I don't think I can make it full screen, definitely, because my video is covering 30% of the feed. But yeah, like definitely, like we can go up to this size and then come back again. Okay. Anyways, is this create reactor? Yes, we have created using create reactor, so that's it. Okay, you can actually look into all the components that are available here, and we'll use them as we go. Like as we need them, we'll use them. So let's just quickly go through a few components and understand like what actually they are. So if you want to have alerts, these are alerts, various type of alerts. So if you want to give some alerts, you can just use them. And how do you use them? You actually get the code here itself. Like you can get the code here itself. That alert key, index and variant is the type of variant that you have, and like that you can create an alert, right? So you can just look into this code, what is being done, and understand how they're actually, how you can use these components, right? Let's say you want to create a navigation bar, like okay, let's just create a navigation bar, right? So you can go to navs, maybe not navs, it will be nav bar. So navs are like this, that if you want to have a navigation system, but we want to create a navigation bar, right? So we can just use the bootstrap component that navigation bar is there. So this is how you can create a navigation bar. So you have container brand, so it will look like this. The navigation bar will look like this, right? It will look like this. And similarly you can have a navigation bar like this. Like there are multiple ways you can have the navigation bar. So a search button, if you want a search functionality on navigation bar, you can just look into this code how it's done, right? So we'll just have a basic navigation bar. We'll just have a basic one. So let's just go with the first option, maybe. Maybe with the first option only, or we can go with the darker variant, like if you want to have a darker theme. But let's just go with the first option that's there. So we'll just copy this, right? We'll just copy this and see what how easy it is to create a navigation bar. So we'll just go to src. Now everything you should break into components, as we have already discussed. So we'll be just breaking everything into components. So let's go to src and we'll create a new folder called components. And now we'll create a new file called navigation bars. Again, like this is something that you can definitely build yourself. But why am I not building? Because I don't want to write css again. Or definitely I can definitely build a navigation bar myself as well. Like if you want me to build, I can definitely build that right now. But again, like there's no point. I just wanted to show how to actually use a pre-existing components. But again, there's a downside. Like you might not want to use bootstrap always, right? You might not want to use bootstrap always. Firstly, it actually decreases the customizability. Like bootstrap is giving you the css, so it's kind of a uniform css that many apps are already using, right? So if you want to make it a bit different, it's difficult to customize, right? So what you should do, if you don't, and also if you're customizing, there's no point of using bootstrap, right? So you can just get rid of bootstrap and write your customized styles, and in that case you'll save the space as well. Like whatever space, like whatever is the size of the bootstrap files, that amount of size it is occupying, whenever you are importing a library, you are actually increasing the size of your project, right? You are increasing the size of your project. So definitely try avoiding using more libraries. You use as less libraries as possible. It's always better to write your own css if you're able to. But again, like if you want to like quickly build something, you can definitely use bootstrap or other components that are available. Like there are multiple of them: material UI components, bootstrap, then there sorry material components, bootstrap, there is ant components, and many others, many other of them, right? So you can definitely like look through them. So what we'll do here, let's just paste everything. So we sorry export default. Maybe in the second project we'll build our own navigation bar, right? So let's just quickly wrap this up and then we'll try to build things by ourselves. So return, I'll just return something here. Okay, in my return, what will I do? I'll just copy this code, right? I'll just copy this code. Now whatever is needed, right? Whatever is needed, I'll just import those things. So import navbar is needed from React Bootstrap. What else is needed? Nav is needed. What else is needed? Nav dropdown is needed. Dropdown is needed. What else is needed? Container is needed. Container is needed. What else is needed? Anything else is needed? I don't think so. Let's just have this, right? Let's just have this, and we can just indent it properly, right? We can just definitely indent it properly. Like let's go here and indent it properly, and this will go one level indentation. And so let's so we have created the navigation bar, but okay, let's just first try to use this, right? How do we use this? We'll do import navigation bar, right? Navigation bar from component slash navigation bar. So we'll use something like this, navigation bar. So navigation bar is basically the top component that's there, right? So if I just save this and if we go to our website, let's just go to our website. Okay, so it's coming below. Maybe the css is not getting loaded. Let me just check. Just give me a second. What I'll do is I'll go to app.css. I'll maybe get rid of these things, and container. Okay, I'll also get rid of container because that's the css that it's taking. Okay, now we have the like navigation bar ready, right? Although it's white in color, but definitely you can give your website some black theme and then on top of that white, or you can just make the navigation bar black as well, right? How do we make the navigation bar black? If you go to this, we had a black navigation bar as well, this, and if you see the bg is light and bg is dark, that is actually toggling the color, right? So we can just go to our navigation bar and we get light here, we can just make it to dark, and let's just see the change. So once we do that, we have a dark navigation bar, but again, like the color has become the color has become this, so we have to do something about that. Let's see what have to do we have to do. So we have dark here, and variant equals to dark. Is that it? So let's see if yes, variant equals to dark. अरे कोई नहीं लास्ट डे है वैसे भी तो ओके वॉचिंग तो है 14 लोग देख रहे हैं वॉचिंग कहाँ नहीं है वॉचिंग तो है चलो okay, so we have the black navigation bar ready, right? So and in fact the best part about Bootstrap, if you're using Bootstrap, you don't have to make things responsive yourself, right? Bootstrap already makes it responsive for you. So if you just go to inspect and go for a lower screen size, like let's say we go to a mobile screen, if you see that it has become responsive by default, right? So you can just what you can do is you can in fact play around like this, like let's do like this. So see, it's after certain width it's actually becoming responsive. See, right now it is not responsive, now it is becoming a mobile screen, right? So it's becoming like this, like the breakpoint is added like that, so it's responsive completely. And that's the best part, like you don't have to make it responsive yourself. But again, the downside being that you are importing a lot of unnecessary things, like you are not you don't need these components, all of these components. You might be using one or two of them, so you are just unnecessarily increasing the size of your project. So that's one downside for that. So definitely it's and also you are giving up on the customizability. You are not able to customize yourself, like you don't have a lot of freedom here. So definitely writing your own css is good, but again, like if you want to get things done quickly, you should definitely consider like using this, right? Let's just customize this. uh, Bootstrap why work nahi karta, because one of the reasons can be that you are not importing the css file, right? You are not importing the css file or the javascript files properly, so that might be one of the reasons. And that's mostly the reason, like often we forget, like if I just give up this, right? If I just don't do this, I maybe like I'll have something like this. See, Bootstrap is no longer working, right? Because the css file is gone. So we have to always like make sure you're importing the css file in like in a parent class or in the first component, like app component or something, right? Make sure that you are using that. You work in which company? I'm working at Google right now. Okay, so we have the navigation bar ready, right? I think we have the navigation bar ready. Okay, so let's do now. Let's actually get back to our work. So we want to divide everything. Like okay, before that, let's actually customize our navigation bar. It's not looking nice. So let's call let's call our project online ID. Great, let's call it online ID. Let's give it something like home page, and maybe something like about us page or something like that, and we'll give up on the remaining items, right? We'll just give up on the remaining items for now. We don't need these things. And let's see. Okay, we don't need nav drop down, so let's just remove the dependency from here, and that should be it. So if we just save this and go to this, so we have online ID, home, about us, right? uh Okay, so we have home, about us, and everything, right? Everything like definitely you can, if you want an image here instead of online ID, you can definitely add a image here, right? You can definitely add some images here and those things for your logo. But again, like you can just go through this, like all the possible value, like possibilities. Like if you see, you will get some you can have a search, but you can have a search bar, you can have some other things, like you can just go through this and you will get, or you can go through the set of APIs that are available, and you can just you'll just understand what you have to change exactly, right? Okay, so we have this navigation bar ready. Now let's think about the entire page. How will it look? The entire page will be divided into three sections. Let's just divide it into three sections for now. On top will be the navigation bar, which is already created. In between will come the ID, the main part of the ID. We'll call that ID, and on the lower part it will be the footer, right? So what we'll do is we'll first create this entire thing in entire layout. So let's call it div class equals to main wrapper, right? It will be wrapping everything. Okay, main wrapper, and navigation bar. So we'll create a footer and we'll create those things as well. Let's go to main wrapper, app.js, main wrapper. Let's go for a display flex direction will be column, because we want column. Flex direction will be column. It will be width will be 100 vw, like it will take the entire width. Height will be 100 vh, it will take the entire height of the page, right? So 100 vw, 100 vh, right? I think that should be enough, and if we see, that's fine, nothing is there, right? Now let's go to the second part, right? So it will contain navigation bar. Let's create two more components, right? Let's quickly create two more components. One will be the id.js. It will be the main id, or let's just rename. How do I rename? One second. Rename is here. Okay. id.js. Let me write it like this: id.js, and one of the components will be footer.js, right? So let's call it footer.js. So just see how am I breaking the entire website, right? I'm breaking the entire website into three parts. Navigation bar, id, and footer, right? Further, you can divide the navigation bar into multiple components. So basically that's the idea. You break it down into smaller components, you build the smaller components, you combine them together to create larger components out. That's the general idea, right? So I'm just breaking this entire page, I'm treating this entire page as the component, breaking it down into three components: the navigation bar, the id, and the footer. Now the navigation bar I've already created, the footer also I'll create, and the id I can further break down into multiple sub components. I can combine them together and they will become the main component, right? Okay, so now we'll go to footer. We'll see if we have some footer available, ready-made footer. Why won't we prefer a ready-made footer? But we can definitely create ourselves as well again. Like, there's no need. Do we have footer in Bootstrap? I don't think. Do we have footer? Let's search for footer. I don't think we have. Okay, we don't have footer. I believe we don't have footer. We have cards, but that's not needed. We have to create our own footer. So let's just create our own footer, right? So export default footer, right? Sorry, export default function footer. So it's a function footer, and yes. So we have this. Now what we'll do is, front-end developer, I have completed I've completed BCA doing job 1.5 years. So should I do MCA and do why don't you directly try applying for product-based companies? Why do you need to like actually go for MCA and then try for product-based companies? Just think about it. Like, if you can directly go into like just try to crack interviews for product-based companies, I think that you don't need a MCA degree for that, right? Anyways, footer container, let's call it a footer container. We'll give some styles here later on, but let's just create the footer. So return, and we'll give it a div. Let's call it give it a class name of footer container. The CSS that we divide. Again, one more thing to tell here. If you want to create multiple CSS files, right? Like, you don't want everything to be in a single CSS file like this, like app.css, right? Although this is definitely not a good coding practice. You should ideally segregate every component into their own CSS files. So for that, for each component that we create, like footer component, we should create a folder called footer. Inside that, there will be the footer.js. There will be a CSS file. There will be a CSS file for footer, and there will be some assets. Like, if some assets are needed for the footer, we'll have those assets as well, right? So that's ideal. Like, let's just do that, right? Let's just do that. I don't like this style of coding anyways. So let's just create a new folder called footer, and inside that we'll move the footer.js. So we can in fact move it. Okay, one trick I'll show you here. Let me just come back. Okay, one trick I'll show you here. This footer.js, I'll just rename this to index.js, right? So index.js is the entry point to any folder. So whenever you are entering in the footer folder, index.js is the entry point, right? So how you can actually import this is pretty interesting. So let's not write it here. Let's just go back to main.js, right? Or sorry, app.js. So we want to import footer, right? So import footer. Just see where am I importing footer from. I'm importing footer from slash components slash footer, the directory name, right? Because in the directory name we have an index.js file that is actually the entry point, right? So if you write an index.js file, you don't have to write slash that file name again. In general, we have to write for navigation bar slash component slash navigation bar, right? The file name, right? But here we don't have to write the file name because we have written the index.js file. We have named the file as index.js and it becomes the entry point. So that's there, right? So let's render the footer here. And maybe let's divide this ID as well into a folder. So let's just create a new folder here called ID, and we'll divide this ID into this. We'll move this ID into this, and we'll just rename this to index.js again. So rename index.js. So we'll just import ID. Let's just go to ID index.js and export default function ID and return something. Let's call it a div. For now, let's just return an empty div, and we'll just use this for now. So ID, so import IDE. Right? So we'll have the ID component here. Okay, now let's come back to the footer. Let's start with the footer first. So we'll quickly create a file. We'll give it a name called footer.css, right? So we can give it a name called footer.css. It will contain the CSS for that. So let's give it a footer container first, right? We'll give it a name called footer container, the class name, and we can import that here. So import /footer.css, right? So just remember what webpack does for us. What does webpack do? It will take all the CSS files, it will take all the JavaScript files, all the CSS files will be combined together into a single CSS file, all the JavaScript files will be combined together into a single JavaScript file, right? So everything will be combined together, like by webpack. All of these different CSS files that will create, everything will be combined together by webpack, right? Everything will be combined. So is GFG and LeetCode enough for coding to get ideas and to in resume? Definitely it's, I wouldn't say it's enough, right? Again, like it's, maybe it's enough, but maybe it's enough, right? Because you are like just definitely, if you're solving problems properly, then it's enough. If you are memorizing problems, then it's definitely never enough, right? If you're memorizing, it's never enough. If you're solving it properly, like you're thinking about it, how to solve it, and then you are trying to solve it yourself, then it's enough. But definitely if you're not memorizing things, if you're memorizing, it's never enough, right? So footer container, and in footer container we'll give it some things, right? What do we get? We'll give it a width of the entire viewport, so 100 VW. Quite of it. We'll give it a height of, let's say we'll give it a height of 70 pixel, right? We'll give it a height of 70 pixel. We'll give it a display of flex, let's say. We'll give it a background color of something. So let's just we'll give it a background color of some shade of white. So let's, or some shade of black actually. So let's take black, and we'll take the shade of black, some shade of black, right? So let's just see what we can take from here. Okay, I think this looks okay. And color will be white, maybe a shade of, maybe some shade of white. So we'll just look into that. Okay, let's just keep this, right? So in footer, okay, what will it contain? It will contain just maybe some text. Let's call it span. Let's keep some text here that um this is created by Soham Mukherjee or something like that, right? And you can add your socials as well. Like you can definitely add your socials as well. uh so let's have a simple footer for now. Let's see if it's getting something. So it's definitely not getting anything right now. uh I think there's some problem with the CSS. Is it not? It's imported, right? Footer container is 100 VW with everything. So footer container, don't know why is it not taking that. Let's see. Have we not saved this file? Okay, probably we haven't saved this file, but again, like, let's see again. So this is also same. Do we not have the styles? Let's see. Footer container, and footer container doesn't have the styles, right? If you see, footer container is, it's not getting the styles. Definitely not. अच्छा, container हो गया. चलो एक आर को delete करना पड़ेगा. So yes, now I think now it's okay. Like it is getting the styles. We just have to move it to the bottom of the page. So we can definitely move it like this. So let's make it position absolute and bottom is 0. So position will be absolute, bottom is 0, and that's it. So we can just see it just moves to the bottom of the page, right? This is not centered, so let's just center it as well. So how do we center that? Display flex direction. Flex direction is not needed. Justify content and align items is okay. Centered, align items is centered, so we'll just center this text. So it's centered right now, right? If you want, you can accordingly do things, right? Like let's say you want to add your socials on the right hand side. You can just create a container for socials and add all the icons, and then it will show you like the socials, right? So this is like the footer that we have created. This is the header, and in between the ID will come in, which is the main part, right? Now for the ID, what is so please tell how to make a website, like embed compiler in our website. Compiler in our website, it will make your website heavy, right? You generally do not embed a compiler into your website. What you generally do is you have a backend service that's running, that will have the compiler running, right? You send whenever you type something, like that's what I'll tell you today. What we actually do, whenever you type something, you send the payload. Like whenever you click on submit or something, you send the payload to the backend, and in the backend it's processed, it's executed, and the response is given to you. That's mostly for that's mostly because you don't want to load compilers into your machine. But again, like your browser is loaded with the JavaScript compiler, right? Your browser can understand JavaScript, so maybe for JavaScript codes you can directly execute on your browser, but definitely not for other languages, right? It doesn't make sense to load a compiler into a website. It will just make it more heavy. Text align center, text align center would have worked, but nahi, text align center, I think because it was enclosed in a span, right? This entire thing is enclosed in a span, so I don't think like agar tum span ka width dekhoge, let's look into the width of the span. Span is just covering this much, right? So text align center, I don't think it would it have worked. Let's just see. Maybe it might work, but text align center might work again. So it's not working, right? It will not work because this is not taking up the entire width, right? If the container takes up the entire width, if it is under the div, right? If I write this under the div, this span, instead of span I directly write it under the div, in that case text align center would have worked, but not in this case. Yeah. हाँ, अरे CSS का तो बहुत solutions होता है. Anyways, in project field some part is copied, like it's fine. In backend, like auth will be done, and some UI is like in this channel is gonna stay between is the channel gonna stay with each authentication workflows with JWT? I've already talked about authentication with using JWT tokens. You can definitely check my backend series out. It's in the playlist. You can definitely check it out. Other than that, website will definitely the channel will definitely stay, but it will be paused for some time from the next month. Right. So there will be no content from the next month, and I don't know when it will be resumed again. Right. So I cannot tell anything about that. So anyways, cool that this is like till now it's looking nice. It's not looking very bad, but definitely let's go with the ID part. So for the ID we need a text editor, right? So we'll use a predefined component again. I don't want to create a text editor myself, and there are hundreds of text editors that are available today. Not hundreds, I wouldn't say 100, there are multiple of them. So I'll be using one of them called Ace Editor, which is a very popular one. So we can just try to use this, right, as editor. So first of all, we'll install this dependency. Videos will stay. Yes, videos should stay. Okay. Let's just install the dependency. So we'll go to terminal, new terminal. Nathan, if you are creating your own editor, you have to write all the things like how to syntax, how to highlight syntax and everything. So that will be how to like and also how to indent stuff, how to like give the keyboard controls. You have to write everything yourself, right? How to again you also have to write how to highlight stuff. Highlight I've already talked about, maybe. Yes. How to indent like format things, everything, right? You have to write every rule yourself, so there's no point of writing so much code. So you can use something that's pre-built, which is we'll be using Reactors, right? So let's just install this dependency, and meanwhile we can just play around. Like whenever you are looking for a component, you can definitely find some demos around it. So you can definitely try these demos out and understand what it will look like, right? So this is the Reactors editor. This is how our Reactors editor looks like, right? So it even gives supports a lot of themes, right? These themes you can just like select one of these themes, and you can get there are multiple themes that are available with this, right? So you can definitely use these properties, like just setting corresponding properties. You can have the themes. Then JavaScript, it supports multiple languages as well. So you can just select one of the languages. Font size also it's customizable. There's a lot of things, so it's definitely a good choice. So we can definitely like write some code here that hey console.log. We can definitely write some code like this, right? See, it looks very good, right? It is highlighted, it is everything is happening. So we'll definitely try to reuse this. We'll not try to create our own editor. That doesn't make much sense. So how to use this? You have your basic code here. You have a basic usage code here, and you also have some examples. You have some examples as well. So you can definitely go into the documentation, or we can will definitely go into the documentation or the GitHub repo and look into the code corresponding to that, right? In fact, if you want something like this, you have a Ace editor like code written here, right? So you can just copy this component code and just use this as well. Or but again, definitely that makes sense, right? So we have this. Let's see. Okay, is it installed? Yes, I think it's installed. So we'll go back to our ID part, right? So let's go to the ID part, and we'll use our Ace editor here, right? So let's just create our Ace editor for now. So go to this. What do we import? We import Ace editor, and we import these two libraries additionally as well. So let's just import these things, right? Ace editor and these two things. So this is how you like return the component or create a Ace editor out. So you should just use exactly this thing, right? Mode will be Java, theme will be GitHub, right? Let's just give it a theme will be GitHub, and on change we'll write something here. Name block scrolling is set to true. We definitely can we can give it a theme of Monokai if you want, or you can make the theme customizable. We'll make it customizable later on. Means today only we'll make it customizable, but we'll definitely make it customizable, right? On change is something that we need to write. So let's just create whatever that code it contains, right? So let's call it code and set code, right? Set code equals to use state and okay, code and set code will be use state and initially it's empty, right? So what we'll do is on change it will be, so on change it will take a value, right? It will take a value, and what it will do is set code, it will call it with the value, right? Set code and value. So what we can do is we can also like add a, like we want to see if it is actually changing or not. So what we can do is we can use a use effect as well. Use effect, what it does, again just remember what use effect does, right? So you can write a use effect here, right? And when will this function be called? Whenever code, if you write it like this, what does this mean? It means that this function, the first function that you're passing, this will be called every time code is changing. Every time this code is changing, this function will get called. So what you can do is you can do a console.log on code, right? Console.log on code, and before that console.log, let's just print some message here like this, right? And code. Okay, so we have our Css editor here. Let's see how it looks actually. Okay, so it's taking up this entire region, that's fine. I don't think it is using the theme what was the theme name again? The theme name was Monokai, right? And we have added here Monokai only. Somehow it's not taking up the theme. Let's see. Placeholder text on change, font size is okay, highlight is true. Cool. I think things are there, but somehow it's not taking up the theme. So but that's fine. I believe we can just look into the theme part later. Let's just see if we are able to write something, right? So what we'll do is we'll maybe change the language to what do we have? Java, right? So class, let's make the font size larger, right? Let's just make the font size larger. So the font size, we can have it here. Font size will be, let's say put 20, right? Let's just have the font size to be 20 here. And okay, it's not actually customizing itself. Class, I don't think we should pass a string, we should pass an integer. Okay, I passed in a string here, we should pass an integer here. Okay, I think now it should customize itself. So yes, we have a bigger this. So class, let's call it class solution, and we'll write here public static void main, thing like this, and string args and those part. So string args, and yes, system.out.println, right? Out.println and everything. So we can write code like this. Definitely we can write some code like this. So if you see, like this looks nice, right? Like the editor is definitely working, but the editor is just taking up certain amount of space. It's not taking the entire like width, right? We just want the editor maybe to take some in the entire width only. There will be on top there will be some controls that are there, and on the bottom there will be a submit or those part, right? Submitting the code, something like that. So let's see the div that we have here. Why is it taking this less space? Let's understand that. So unique editor, and it takes the entire width definitely, but this only it is taking a width of 500 pixel because it's hard coded here. So what we'll do is we'll try to not hard coded, we'll try to provide those properties, right? We'll definitely try to provide those properties, but yeah, let's do that. So width will be, let's call it 100%. Let's see if this is working actually. So we have the width to be 100%, I believe now. Is it 100%? Let's see. So this is width is 100%, right? So definitely the width is, it's taking the width to be 100%, right? It's definitely taking the width to be 100%. There's a margin, that's fine. Height is okay, like we'll definitely try to control the height as well. We'll not we don't want it to be a lot, we don't want it to be lot, right? So we'll want to control the height as well, and below there will be a CTA and those things. So this much is looks good. I want a control on top of it, right? I want a control panel on top of it. So let me just quickly create the control panel so I can control all the properties, and that I think will make more sense, right? If we can control the properties. So let's just go ahead. Just 1 second. And also, if you have any doubts still here, you can definitely ask me if you have some question. So let me just open the chat here. Okay. Unique ID of div. Let's give it a name that is editor 123. Is editor 123. Cool. We have this, right? Now let's create a control panel on top of it. So it will be a part of IDE, right? So we'll create it under the IDE folder itself. Under the IDE folder, we'll create a file name called control panel.js, right? It will be controlling all the everything. So export default function control panel, and sorry, I have not given 1 second मैं chat कर रहा हूँ, 1 second देना बस. कंट्रोल पैनल, यस. क्या लिखा है तुमने? आप रात में लाइव होते थे ना? हाँ, आज फ्री था, आज सैटरडे था. आई डोंट वांट माय सैटरडे टू बी लाइक, अगर रात को क्लास लेंगे तो थोड़ा लाइक मेरा भी पर्सनल टाइम चला जाता है. सो सैटरडे संडे मिलता है बस थोड़ा एंजॉय करने के लिए. तो डेफिनेटली आई वुड लाइक टू लाइक play some games or do those things like at night. So I just decided to take it at 4, right? Which BS Code theme is it? अच्छा, glad that you have noticed, right? अरे look at you, sorry. हाँ मतलब आज ही थोड़ा मैं वो हो गया, आज थोड़ा मतलब डिफरेंट हो गया, बट generally VS Code theme, I'm very glad that you have noticed. So I downloaded this today. It's called a Dracula theme, right? So you can definitely, I was going through this. So Dracula official, this one, this is something that I'm using. I believe this is one, yes. Dracula official, इसका लाइट वर्जन जो है, ड्रैकुला का 2 थीम होता है. लाइक वी कैन गो टू दिस पार्ट, प्रेफरेंसेस, इधर मिल जाएगा मेरे को थीम, कलर थीम. ड्रैकुला सॉफ्ट होता है, ड्रैकुला होता है. ड्रैकुला इज अ बिट, आई फील इट्स अ बिट हेवी, आई डोंट नो व्हाई. मतलब थोड़ा हेवी लग रहा है मेरे को ड्रैकुला. तो ड्रैकुला लाइट काफ़ी सही लगा. सो आई एम यूजिंग ड्रैकुला लाइट, राइट? So you should definitely try like a few themes that definitely like helps the process. Okay. We are trying to make a online ID, the front end of an online ID. Okay. That's what we are trying to make. Let's see how much we succeed. So control panel, and we'll just return what we'll return. We'll return a div, right? We'll return a div. This part will be interesting actually. Now this will be interesting. The control panel part, because here there will be some logical things that are coming in. अभी इतना तक तो mostly तुम्हारा CSS वगैरह था, but now some logical things will come in, right? So div control panel, let me just give it a class of control panel. Class name will be a control panel container, right? So it will be a control panel container. We'll give it a control panel container CSS. So panel container, let's give it a width of 100 VW, a height of 70 pixel, right? A height of 70 pixel, and let's have this. So what we'll do here is this is the control panel container. So what we want to do, what we can do is we can definitely color this control panel as well. So with a different color, but again, like, okay, let's just give it a background color as well. So background color, let's take white font now, and we'll just maybe like customize to a some shade of white. So let's just go to some shade of white. Let's see. हाँ, ऐसा कुछ सही लग रहा है, ठीक है. Maybe a bit darker, but anyways, like that's fine. So we'll go to index.js and we'll write the control panel here. So control panel, ठीक है, control panel ऊपर जाएगा इसके. So let's see if we can see the control panel. दिख तो नहीं रहा मेरे को control panel. CSS मैंने डॉट CSS नाम लिखा है, लोल। रुक जाओ एक सेकेंड बस, लेट मी जस्ट रीनेम दिस टू समथिंग कॉल id.css, ठीक है। एंड इसको इंपोर्ट भी करना पड़ेगा, सो वी हैव टू इंपोर्ट दिस, लेट्स इंपोर्ट इट इन index.js, this file itself, so import ./id.css, right? ./id.css and import control panel, okay? And we have used control panel here, so export default function control panel is there. क्या हो गया इसका? Already been declared. Okay, have we already imported control panel? Yes, we have. So let's just remove this and बाकी ठीक है. Let's just see if we have the control panel now. Okay, फिर भी control panel अपना नहीं है. Let's just look into the code once. So we'll go here. We are in the div, right? So div control panel container तो है, height नहीं है इसका, height I think height मैंने नहीं दिया था. I had given it a height of 70 pixel, width वगैरह. So let's see what is it not getting the styles? Okay, control panel container is the class, right? So it is not getting the styles definitely. Control panel container is this class. कंटेनर पैनल कंटेनर मैंने इधर लिखा है, ठीक है, तो इसको कंट्रोल पैनल कंटेनर करना है देखो. So if once I do this, I have the control panel. I have the control panel on top of this. So definitely width maybe थोड़ा बड़ा है, like we can just reduce this to 50 pixel. I think that should like be sufficient, right? We should just reduce this to 50 and I think this looks good now, ठीक है. So control panel, अभी control panel पे काम शुरू करते हैं. Like this is definitely this is working, but we want a control panel to be there. So what do we want in our control panel? We want a font size, definitely we want some font size maybe to be controlled. We'll come back to React Bootstrap now because we want a few things here. What we want are drop downs, right? We just want drop downs, we just want drop down components. So this is what we will be using. So if you see, if you want a drop down button like this, you can get a drop down button like this, definitely. So we'll just take okay, this is here, drop down toggle. And what's the difference with this? Single button drop down, इसमें difference क्या है मेरे को समझ नहीं आया. Anyways, ठीक है, चलो इसको ही लेते हैं, चलो इसको ही लेते हैं. We'll start with this drop down button, ठीक है, इसको कॉपी करेंगे. We want these drop downs to be there, right? So ideally we should definitely divide it into multiple components, and in fact let's just do that, right? Let's just create a drop down because all of them will be kind of drop downs themselves. So let's just create a drop down component and there we'll just pass in the values that are there, and the values that are there, and also what anyways it will just become a bit complicated. So let's just start simple, let's just start simple for now. So we'll do one thing, we'll just create because we have to go for props drilling, right? What that is we'll understand in some time, just give me some time. Okay, we have this, right? Now let's import everything. Import drop down from, sorry, no, not this. Import drop down from React Bootstrap, yes, and drop down dot item. I think everything is there. So let's call this font size. Font size. Actually, we'll not call this font size. We'll give it a label, maybe something like a label. Let's see what it looks like. Drop down is not defined. That's fine. We'll just save this, and we have the font size, right? We have the font size drop down. Let's just give it first some. Let's just give it some things like styles to this one. So display flex justify content will be space evenly, right? It will be space evenly. Not space evenly, maybe. Sorry, not space evenly, maybe. But something else. Sorry. Yes. So not space evenly, maybe, but something else. So it will be space. What around? Around means more space around. Between, space between should be high. Okay, space between, let's give it space between. But then it sticks actually, so no, not space between as well. Space around, space around, let's give it space around. That in that case it will go to the center again. That's fine, that's fine. Let's we'll see. Or space evenly, let's go for space evenly. I think that's fine. Okay, space evenly. So we have the font size, right? We have the font size. uh we don't want the name font size, right? We don't want the name font size. What we want is what we want is, we want what I want here, basically I want to get the size itself, right? I want to get the size itself, like if it's 14 pixels selected, I should get the size here to be 14 pixel need written here. And maybe on beside this, maybe I can write something like what is the label for this, like font size is this, and something like that. That's something that I would prefer, right? Let's do something, right? Let's do something. Let's see if we have some labeling stuff, but otherwise we'll have to build a level, the label ourselves. Actually what I'm talking about here is a select, right? I'm more talking more about a select here instead of this. So let's go to input. I definitely know that there are some selects, so let's just go to input, because that I think will definitely help us. Where our form control kahan par hai? Form button is there. Form kahan par hai? Form input group form control कुछ तो होगा एक. Let's look into that. मेरे को दिख क्यों नहीं रहा? रुको एक सेकेंड. फॉर्म, अच्छा फॉर्म्स इधर है. हाँ, फॉर्म कंट्रोल. Let's go to select. What we want basically is a select actually. तो select ऐसे कुछ चाहिए, तो select form select. Let's take a form dot select maybe, and yeah, I think that should be okay. So we'll take a form dot select. I will not take a drop down, right? We'll take a select. So control panel container. So देखो, like there will be multiple selects, right? There will be multiple selects. So I want to, like, in fact I want to create components out of them as well. So let's create an abstract component out of them. Export, we'll don't export, we'll create a component in this file only. So function, let's call it a select, right? Select component, and it will take in some things, right? It will take in something. First is the choices that are there. Second is current value. Third is the handle value change. The value change will be handled by this handle value change, right? So these are the three things. We'll see if we need something else. Why have I created an arrow function? We don't need an arrow function, right? So yes, so let's just return something. So what do we want here? We want a form here, right? So form here. Let's just return a form dot select. So form dot select. Let me see. Form dot, okay, form dot select. We have the form dot select. Inside this there will be the choices. How do we write the choices? Option and then the value, right? Option and then the value. So option, so choices dot map. So we'll map all the choice, right, to a choice, and it will result in a what? It will result in an option slash option, and whatever is the choice, right? Whatever is the choice, and here the id will be what? Id will have to give it a key, rather we have to give it a key. So what will give it a key to be? Option, and then we'll give it the corresponding value, like whatever is the choice here. So option choice, right? So this is the key for this, and this is the value. So we can write it in the next line actually, just to make it a bit clearer. So option key, and then we can write a choice like this and give it an indentation and option. So this, okay, so we have this form that will take the choice, and yeah, that's it, right? So choice now, change, right? We have to write the on change trigger. So currently value is value, so let's write it here, value is value, and on change should be there as well, on change, yes. Let's see what are the APIs that are available with a form select. So form select, on change is there, on change is there, and value is there, right? On change is there and value is there, so on change and it will get the corresponding value. So on change and it will get the value, maybe, or it will get the event. Does it get the event? We'll see console.log event. We'll just do a console.log event for now, right? We'll just do this for now. Cool. We have this select component. Now we want to pass all possible values of sizes. So let's create a font size array, right? Font size. What will be this array? So we have to create an array, right? We have to create an array. Let's say, what do we want, right? That's something that we have to identify. So array dot array of size, let's say we want 10 sizes to be there. Array of size 10 dot fill, initially let's fill it with 0, then we'll do map each item. So 1, each item will be mapped to item plus 10. So item plus 10, so 10, 11, 12, 13 up to 20 will be there, right? Up to 20 will be the size, item plus 10. So that's the font size array. So font sizes, let's call it font sizes, right? Font sizes. So what we'll create here, we'll create a select component here, select component, and we'll give it the choices will be the font sizes, font sizes, and we can have the value to be initially, let's say the value is initially 14. So let's just pass it for now, and let's see if this is working actually. So not sure if it is working. Okay, it's working. It has taken the entire width. Everything is 10. That's interesting. Okay, initially everything is this, right? That makes sense. It should not be item plus 10. It should be, we should take the index as actually. So index, and it should be index plus 10, not item. It should be index plus 10, right? So now I think that should be, now it should give the proper result. So 10, there are multiple 10s, 11, 12, 13, 19 up to 19, but there are multiple 10s somehow. Okay, 10, 11, 12, now it's okay, right? Now it's okay. 10, 11, 12 up to 20 is there, up to 19 is there, right? Okay, so we have the font sizes available. Now value is 14, and we can choose, right? We can actually give, we can actually like modify the size as well. So let's see if we can give it a size, and HTML size, so it's just taking the entire width. That's the problem. We can restrict it with a container. We can definitely restrict this with a container. So what we can do is we can restrict this with a container. So let's create a container around it, and we'll restrict this, right? So for div, and inside that we'll take this, inside that we'll take this entire thing. So that will be there, and let's just give it some indentation. Okay, so let's see if it might still take the entire. Okay, now it's taking a small size. So let's modify the size of this. So let's give it a class name of what? We'll give it a class name of select container, right? Select container, and let's go to ide.css and let's give it some width. So select container, width is how much? Width will be around 40 pixel. 40 pixel should be decent. Okay, 40 pixel is very less. Okay, let's just give it 100 pixel and see if this is actually enough. So 100 pixel is, I think, good, right? So we have the font size here. It will be 100 pixel, right? Also, align items will be, let's make the align items to be centered. So align items centered, so that it's centered along this part. So yes, it's centered somewhat. So we have 14 here, which will control the height, right? Sorry, it will control the font size, but it doesn't work right now. It definitely doesn't work right now. What we'll do here, we'll do something differently, right? But before that, let's actually capture what we are getting when we are selecting something. So let's just select something, and we are getting a synthetic based event with change and current target, everything change, event dot target dot event dot target dot value or something like that. If we should get event dot target dot, what have we selected? Okay, anyways, we'll try to figure something out on this. Let's just keep the inspect open, and we'll just try to figure something out. What is the change that? So let's just console log something else. So let's just focus on event dot target dot value, maybe event dot target dot value. Is that it? So let's see if that's the thing. So we'll go to console, and we'll definitely try to make a change here. 17. So we are getting 17. So event dot target dot value is what we are looking at, right? So what we'll pass here, we'll pass here this value. Definitely we'll call handle change value, handle value change with this, right? Handle value change with this, with event dot target dot value. Okay, now comes the interesting part. That is, we are to control the size. We are to control the size of this editor with this drop down, right? Where should the state be? Where should the state be, so that this editor size, font size, is controlled by this drop down? If you remember properly, there is a unidirectional flow of data, right? So we should always try to keep them in their common parent. Now the editor component, it is let's just close this. The editor component is available here, right? The editor component is available here. So this is where we should actually write the have the state for the font size component as well. So let's create the font size component. Font size state, sorry, font size state, font size equals to use state, and default will keep it to be 14, right? Default will keep it to be 14. Font size will keep the state here to be font size, right? We'll change it. Now in control panel, we'll pass the current value of the font size to here. So from here, so font size is font size, and handle font size change. We'll pass these two things. Okay, what was the name here? Set font size. Okay, set font size. So set font size. So we pass these two things, right? We pass these two values. Let's give it a new line and indent. Let's give it a new line and in. Okay, indent is not needed. Okay, so font size and handle change, right? In control panel.js, we'll take these two properties out. So we'll take the two properties out, that is font size and handle font size change, and we'll pass these two properties down, right? So value will be the font size, current font size, and handle value change will be handle font size change. Okay, so that will be it. So it will event.target.value. Let's see if this is working. So what we have basically done is we have created a state here. We have created a state here. We are using this state to control this font size, right? We are using this state to control this font size here. If you see, font size is controlled by this state, and we are passing this state down to the control panel. In control panel, we have the select component which will take the current value which will take the current value and the handle change event as well, and it will set it. So we are passing down those two values to this font size, right? To this, right? So let's just see if this is actually working. So we'll just reload, and okay, initially why is it 410? Does it work? Let's see. 18. I don't think it is working right now. Cancel. मेरे को शेयर नहीं करना है भाई. id.css, let's save. id.js, let's save everything, and now we come. Okay, now we have 14, right? Let's see, let's write something. Console.log something, right? Or it's a java code, right? So class solution, let's write a class solution here, and we'll see if we are able to control the font size. So if we go to 817, it should have increased, but it's not increasing actually. Okay, let's see what is happening here. What is happening, right? So what we'll do is we'll also, instead of this use effect, let's just get rid of this use effect for now, or let's keep it, and instead of this we'll add here font size, right? So font size will be the use effect, and console.log will give it a font. So we'll see what is the font size. So let's see if it is changing actually. So let's go to the console. 13, and actually the font size is changing, right? Actually the font size is changing. The font size is changing, however this text is not changing. So if I write here now, or let's say I change it to 20, 19, then I write it, it's still the same thing. Okay, it's still the same thing. So let's see what is the problem here. Event.target.value, should we just go for a %? Maybe it's not in integers, so maybe we should do a %. I'm not sure, but it should definitely have worked. Okay, now it's working. I think it was taking a string value, that's why. So if you see, now it's working. If we go to 19, it's increasing. If we are going to 11, it's decreasing, right? So the font size we are definitely able to control ourselves, right? We are definitely able to control the font size ourselves. We can look into a few more things that we can control. So what else we can control? We can come here. We can definitely control the theme as well, right? We can control the theme as well. GitHub, okay. So we can control the theme as well. So let's see how can we set the theme here. Theme GitHub. Okay, we have imported the theme GitHub here only, and that's why it's not working. So we have to import all the themes that are there. So theme GitHub, theme Monokai. So let's take 3-4 themes, right? Let's just take 3-4 themes, and we'll basically be able to, I think, do this. So let's just take 3-4 themes. So theme GitHub, and also then we can control the language as well, right? So theme, let's see, Monokai is there. Monokai is there. Theme, what else is there? Solarized, something like solarized, some solarized dark theme, maybe. Yes. So let's just take these 3 themes, right? GitHub, Monokai, solarized dark. So let's go to control panel again, right? Let's go to control panel again. Like, let's write down the themes here. What are the themes that are available? Again, just see one thing, that we actually, every time these properties are changing, this entire thing will be re-rendered, right? But this is a fixed value, right? So what we can do is we can move it outside this file or outside this class function, or we can in fact create a constants file and then serve from there, right? So let's create a constants file, constants.js, and serve it from here. So function, let's return this thing, right? Let's return this value, font size. So we will write a export. So let's write a export command here, export const font size. Okay, that's there. Let's create a export const themes, right? Themes will be what? Monokai is there, GitHub is there, and solarized dark is there, right? Solarized dark. So let's just select out of these 3 themes. So what we'll do here, we'll import, we'll definitely import these values in this file. So how do we import? Import font size. So font size this themes from constants, right? From dot slash constants. So font sizes and themes from dot slash constants. So we can create a similar thing here. So we can in fact we can give this a name as well, but let's not give that right now. So we'll create a similar thing like select component here for the theme. Let's give it a new line and let's give it indentation, new line, indentation, new line, and that should be it. So let's create another select component, right? Let's create a select component. So okay, so it will be themes, right? It will be themes. Let's see if we have the select component available with us. So let's come here back, come back here. Okay, I think there should be some issue. Now I think it should be fine. Okay, so we have Monokai, we have this 14, we have the theme as well here. So what we can do is we can add the controls now. How do we add the controls? Again, the same way we will do the same, we'll just do the same thing. So we'll have the const theme and set theme, right? Const theme and set theme. It will be use state, and initially let's give it a default of Monokai. By default it will be Monokai always, and we can just toggle on the theme. So here instead of this we can just give the new theme that we have set theme, and we can pass the handles here, right? We can pass the handle here. So theme is current theme that we have, and handle theme change, and here we pass set theme. Handle theme change will be set theme, right? And we'll go to control panel just.js. We'll take the values here. So here we have font size, we have handle font size change. So let's write it down here like this. So let's take the other values, that is theme and handle theme change. Okay, now let's pass the values here. So select theme and handle theme change. Let's see if this is working. So handle theme change, right? We'll just pass this and let's see if this is working. We'll select a new theme, GitHub, and see the theme is changing, right? If we select Solarized Dark, okay, I don't think it is there, but if we select Monokai, it's again coming back. Solarized Dark, aisa kyun hai? Let's see if we have Solarized Dark here. Solarized Dark, it should have been like this, and maybe there's some mistake with the import. So let's just quickly go back and try importing Solarized Dark again. So let's see, Solarized Dark. Okay, in constants I think I've written it as hyphen, it should be underscore, and that should be the value. So now it should work. So now it's working. See, Solarized Dark, GitHub, and Monokai, we have 3 themes set up, right? And we can change the font size here, 19. Write some code here, class solution, and yes, mostly our id is ready. You can just create a footer section where there will be a submit button that will submit whatever code you have right now. So that you can do, but yeah, like mostly the editor is ready for us, right? And it looks pretty decent. It doesn't look bad at all. It looks pretty decent, right? So this will be our editor section. Here we'll write sorry, this will be our button section. Here we'll add the button to submit the code, run the code, and these things. Okay. So yeah, do you have any doubts with this? Let's just maybe end this project here. Now let's go to the next one. But again, like, do you have any doubts with this, or should we go to a newer project? Is this clear with everyone? Is this clear with everyone? Is this clear with everyone, whatever we have done till now? Is that clear with everyone? And actually we can give more list of font sizes as well. In fact, we can write a label before them. Let's just write a label before them. It's not looking very nice. We'll write a label before them. So let's see. uh there will be a label span class name equals to select label, and we'll give it some label right now, label. After that we'll see like how to write this label, but select label, and we'll have to style it up a bit. So let's go to index.ide.css. So select container will be width, let's give it a width of 150 pixel, uh, and display will be flex, and justify content will be center. So everything will be centered with respect to this block, and select label should be, I think then it should be fine. So or let's give it a 200 pixel, because 150 pixel is less. Let's give it a 200 pixel, and we'll pass in here another value, that is the label, right? So we'll just pass in another property here, label, and we can just replace this. So it will be replaced by label, right? So let's just pass in the labels here. So for the first, the label will be, so it will be font size, right? Font size. The second, the label will be theme. So let's write it here, theme, and let's see if this is working. So we have theme font size. Definitely it's not enough. So what we'll do here, let's go to this, and make it 350, and dot label, sorry, select label. We'll control the font size for this. So font size will be less for these things. Font size will be 0.6 rem, 0.6 rem, right? Okay, font size, it's not taking. So select container is 350 pixel, font size is 0.8 rem, right? Theme and this, and is not becoming centered. So select label should have text align center. What we can do, instead of giving it a select, we can just take it outside a select, right? Sorry, giving it inside a span, we can just have like this, that label, and that should be like, let's see, font size and theme. Let's write it as font. Again, like we have to adjust the CSS a bit, but that's fine. We can just write it as font instead of font size. So font, let's write it as font size and theme. Size and theme, we have the size and theme. We definitely can modify this, give it a margin top, and make it more centered, right? We can definitely do those things, but yeah, I think this, let me just see one thing. Justify content is center. It should be align item center, and that will center them. Now it's centered, right? And let's give it a margin, like let's justify content space between, let's just try to give them, it's just taking the entire place, right? So let's just make reduce this a bit, 250 pixel. Let's just reduce the width to 250 pixel, I think. Yes, and let's give it a select label is not no longer there. Select label is no longer there, so I think it's fine. Let's just go with this, right? So we have this, and after this we can just build the CTA part, and that should be enough, right? So does anyone have any doubt with the code that we have done? So we see that we can control these things, we can control the font size and everything, right? And we can in fact control all other different other properties as well if you want, right? You can just go through all the properties that are there in the documentation, React test, you will find all the properties, right? Or you can look into these examples, and you can see like you can definitely control language and everything, right? tab size, auto completion, everything, right? So you can do like this. So is it clear with everyone how we have done this, how we are creating this, or how we have done this? Then we can move into another part. Maybe we can move into something else. Is this clear with everyone? बता दो यार chat पे, कुछ doubt है तो बता दो. Not sure how many people are watching, but again, like if you have some doubts, please let me know. Or if it is clear as well, please let me know that it is clear. I then can actually proceed with the remaining part. But definitely this is not the best way you can do things, because what we are essentially doing here is called props drilling, right? So basically we need a property. If you see this handle font size or handle the font size or these things, these are needed in the select component, right? Similarly, theme handle theme change is also needed in the select component. So we are basically accessing the properties, like we are passing the property in the control panel, and from the control panel we are drilling it down to select component, right? So we are drilling the property down. So that is called props drilling, which is generally not something that we should use. We should there are other ways we can do this easily, like using Redux or context API. We'll learn about them later. But yeah, like this is not definitely not a nice way to do. But again, we have done some good things as well. Like we have created a component, we have created a reusable component for the selects, and we are just passing the corresponding props, and we are just rendering corresponding the corresponding selects, right? So we are using the code as well. So that's something nice that we have done. But again, like something bad also we have done, so it kind of like is okay, right? So that's okay. Let's just proceed. If you're not answering, let's just proceed to the next part. So that's about like how we can create a online ID. Like you can definitely like try to connect it to backend. I think you've got the idea, right? Yeah. Or if you haven't got the idea, actually I'll just show you how you can actually make a request. So let's just do the last part. Maybe let's do the last part. Should we do maybe just let's do it. So we can go to this id.js, index.js. If you see, like let's create a use effect on the code, right? So you create a use effect on the code that you have. So let's have the code here, and console.log will just log the code that we have written, right? So every time if you see, if you are changing, you can control this with a state. So whatever code you are writing, right, whatever code you are writing, see class solution is there. Let me write something here. So public, see, just every time you are making a change, it is doing a console log. So this state will be changing as you change the your whatever you're writing here. So you can just store this in a state, and whenever you are submitting, you can just send the value of the state. So public static void main, right? So you can just write it like this, and if you see that this is actually logging into the console every time. So this code is changing along when you are changing the code here. So whenever you're done with the code, you can just click on submit, and in the request you can send this code, and it can be passed in the server, and then it can be run in the server, right? So you generally run the code in the server. You don't run the code in the client. Okay, you don't run the code in the client. So okay, that's, I think that should be good. Let's go to the next part. ठीक है, इस पे ही कर लेंगे. We have the footer and the navigation bar. So for now we'll get rid of the ID part, right? We'll get rid of the ID part. We'll not use this ID for now. So actually I could have shown you in a different page altogether, like using routing and stuff, but we don't know about routing yet, so we cannot do that, right? So let's create a new folder called cards, right? Or let's call it GitHub cards. And let's create a file called index.js and export default function GitHub cards, and return, will just return some div here, div. Okay, we have returned some div here. Okay. So we'll take GitHub cards now. We'll not take ID anymore. So import GitHub cards. from /github cards, and let's just take GitHub cards. Okay. Okay. So we have this online ID इसको हम change कर सकते हैं, like let's pass it as a prop. Let's call it project name. Project name equals to, now we can pass the project name to be GitHub cards, right? So GitHub cards. So we can take it in the navigation bar as the project name, although that's not something that you would do, but again, like let's just take this project name, and we can just make the brand to be project name. So GitHub cards, right? And we can capitalize it as well, like if you want to capitalize, and we do like this. Let's see. Oh, we don't have capitalize. Dot to upper, ऐसा कुछ है क्या? Okay, we don't have these things. Cool. ठीक है, कुछ तो होगा, like function method होगा to convert this to capitals. You can just Google it up. ठीक है. So we have GitHub cards. We have this footer. What we want to do is we want to get the data from this API, right? We want to get the data from this API and populate the cards. Now, what do we want to get? Let's understand that. What do we want to get? We want the login, like the name of the user. Let's call it Mojombo. We want the login. We want the avatar URL. We want the avatar for this user. What else do we want? Maybe we want how many starred repos he has, or how many followers and following he has. So if we go to this URL, right? If we go to this URL, slash Mojombo slash followers, we get the list of all the people he's following, right? All the people that this person is following, and I just want the number of followers, right? And number of followers who are following Mojombo, I believe. Let's call it followers, right? I want the followers, and what else do I want is I want the starred, or I want something else. Let's see. I want, is there a proper, like some simple endpoint? I want the subscriptions or something. Ratings or something is there. Let's see. Node URL, avatar URL. URL is this. If we go to this user's data, right? If we go to this user's data, we might find some other information. So let's see. Starred, we have the followers URL. We have the name, right? Name of the user. Let's have this name of the user. Okay, so for every user, let's not go into the followers. Let's just take this information for every user. Yes, we'll maybe do the commenting part under this only. Let's just try to do that as well. So under this user, let's see, like if we have time, definitely. Or I wanted to show an API call, but again, like let's then do that only, right? Let's just first do the commenting system, and then we can actually do this thing, right? So let's create a commenting. Let's try to set up a commenting system, right? So let's go to GitHub cards, and under that only we'll set up a commenting system. So let's create a new file called commenting system. So commenting system.js. So this will be basically responsible for all the comments that will be coming in. So let's create a export default function commenting system, right? Commenting system. Let's see if we can create something from this. So return, it will return some div. It will just return some div. Okay. Commenting system, right? Now GitHub cards, it will take the commenting system and it will return from here. So for now, let's just focus on the commenting system. So import commenting system from this, and let's just return this, right? So return commenting system. Okay. Now, okay, we have the commenting system, right? We have the commenting system. Now each comment, what does it contain? Each comment, whenever you how do you want to like show this? Like maybe you can have multiple comments, and a comment can have multiple sub comments, right? A comment can have multiple sub comments, and we want to restrict it to a depth of 2, right? We or you can actually allow multiple depth as well. We can allow multiple depth as well. Let's do that only. Let's allow multiple depth. Okay. So what is the structure of the comment that we are looking into? The commenting system structure is something like this. Let's first define the structure that we are looking at, right? So the structure of the commenting system will be something like this. Or the state will be something like this, that a commenting system, a comment will contain a comment. It will contain a comment. It will contain the user detail, username. Let's say username. It will contain the username. It will contain some other things. What will it contain? It will contain the other comments, right? Other comments. Let's say that structure will be something like this: comment, username, and other comments, right? So that this is the structure of a comment. This is a structure of a comment. Okay. So let's take the state first. So const comments, set comments. Okay, this might be a bit tricky. Use state, and we'll go for this. Comment ID, yes, comment ID can be actually there. Comment ID. Comment ID. Replies, I don't want to write it as replies because each reply is indeed a comment. So I want a specific structure. Like that's why I'm telling you comments itself. But again, like we can write it as replies as well. We can definitely do that. It's whatever you want, right? So comments, right? So comment and set comments, and use state. Initially, it's an empty list, right? First of all, that main task will be here to display them, right? The main task, I think the main challenge will be to display them. How would we display them actually? Let's say whenever there is a comment, we can do one thing. We can actually indent them by some, we can give some margin, and then we can display the replies, right? Let's think about this a bit. Okay. So we have comments, right? We have comments. All right. Let's create a function that will display a comment. So export default, sorry, not default, we don't want to export. Function display a comment, right? We want to display a comment. So it will contain the corresponding, comments. It will contain the corresponding comment, right? It will contain the corresponding comment. And here what we do, return. So let's create a div here. So div first will be the name of the user. So first let's write the name of the user. Let's use a h5 for that. H5. Yes, div h5. Let's give it a key of comment id, right? Let's give it a key of comment id. So comment id, comment dot comment id, sorry, comment dot comment id. So comment dot comment id. H5 will be what? H5 will be comment dot comment, or comment dot, let's call it body, like let's call it the body of the comment. So also we don't want the body here, we just want the username, right? So username. After this, let's say we have some span that will contain the body. So comment dot body. Now we have the replies, or we can just write it as replies. Actually, that makes more sense. So replies. So replies will be something like this: comment dot replies. Actually, we are going into a recursive call, but that's fine. Comment dot replies dot map. We are mapping each reply. We are mapping each reply to a comment. So we are mapping. Sorry, we are mapping each reply to a display comment type, right? So display comment, and reply comment equals to reply. Comment equals to reply. Okay. So we have this initial setup. Why is this giving some error? Let's see. Oh, okay. One second. Reply. Now I think it should be fine. So let's just keep the closing bracket and the brace. Yes, I think now it's fine. Okay. So let's do one more thing here. Depth. We'll also pass in the depth, right? So let's pass in the depth here. Depth. What is the use case of the depth? We'll understand in some time. And let's pass in here depth equals to depth plus one. So depth plus one. Depth is depth plus one. So we want to indent them, right? We want to indent them. So I want to give it some styles now. I want to give this some styles now. What will I do? Let's see. Okay. Let's go to the comment cards.css. GitHub cards.css. So GitHub cards.css, and what I want to do here, send key prop to reply. Actually yes, I have to send the key prop as well, otherwise it will give some issues. So key will be, and actually I can take the key here as well, right? But again, like, let's just have this. So comment.comment id, or reply.comment id. So reply.comment id. Okay. Reply.comment id. So that will be there. Let me just write it in a new line maybe, and I think that will make it more cleaner. Depth is depth plus one. Okay. Let's come to the CSS file. Let's see what we can do on this. So what do we have here? We have a div. Let's call this, give it a class name, right? Let's give it a class name of comment container, right? Comment container. Okay, so we have dot comment container, and what do we have? So let's give it some border, just to although it will look terrible, I'm pretty sure it will look terrible, but again, like, just let's give this. And display will be flex direction will be column, flex direction will be column, although we don't want to actually give a border around this, right? Not at least around this. We want to give a border. Where do we want to give a border is around the username and this. So let's just give that, and also let's give it a background color. So background color, let's give it a light bluish shade. So aqua, let's go for aqua for now, and we'll like just maybe modify this a bit. So let's see what is a lighter blue. Something like this looks good. Okay, so we have this. Awesome, we have this. We'll make this dynamic later. We'll definitely make this dynamic, like, we'll try to add more comments later. But let's just first hard code a few things and see if this is actually working out, right? So what we'll do is we'll hard code a few comments here, right? So comment id will be 1 2, comment 1. Let's give we can use a tree data structure for each comment. What do you want to do with the tree data structure? Comment 1, let's 1 second. What do we need in a comment? Let's just write it down somewhere. Let's write it down here. Okay, comment id is needed, body is needed. Body is test comment. Username is Soham, and replies is what? Replies will be again a comment. So let's say it has one reply, or let's nest it down to two, depth 2, right? So comment 2, and body will be test 1. Username will be abcd, and replies, let's go to another depth. So replies will be, let's go to the third depth. It will be what? Okay, replies will be another depth. Here we'll write as comment will be comment id is comment 3, body is hey this is level 3. Although we haven't done one thing, we have to do that. Username def, and here it has replies to be a empty array, right? So this is where it ends. Now this first comment replies, okay, one reply and nested, right? Okay, this comment is over, and we can have another comment like this, so it will not have any replies. So comment id will be comment 4, body will be second comment, and username will be something gij, right? Gij, something like this. So this is initial part. Okay, one thing that I want to do here is I want to use this depth, right? I want to do one more thing here, that is this will be interesting. Style, I want to give it some style, that is margin left. Margin left, what will be margin left? Margin left will be in pixels. Definitely it will be in pixel, but how much pixel? That's something that I want to give here. So this much pixel, right? So the pixel will be depth 10 to will be 20, 10 into 10, depth into 10 pixel margin left. Does this work? Let's actually find it out. Essentially we are building a tree eventually, right? We are building a tree of components. So not sure what you're trying to tell here. Like, how would you you can store it in any level, right? You can store it anyway. Like, you can definitely store it similar to a tree, like parent, what is the parent id, and you can store it like this. I've stored them as child nodes, and you can definitely store them as parent nodes, like parent id and parent comment id, like that. That also works definitely. So comment and depth, right? So let's go ahead with like this, that comments dot map, each comment will be comment component with some properties. Depth will be 1, depth will be 1, comment will be comment, and key will be comment dot id. Key will be comment dot comment id. Okay, so we have, I'm not sure if this will work, but let's just try it out. So commenting system comments dot map, what is the wrong with this? Comments dot map, we have done something wrong here. Let's see. Comment depth is 1, comment is comment comment id this. Okay, I have done something wrong here. um Replies will be this level 3. Where am I going wrong, or where am I going wrong? What is this telling? Comments comment id reply this. Okay. Not this. Hmm. Uh, is it not allowed to have a state like this? That's doesn't look like it. Replies. Oh, okay. I think it is comment ID. I have not written. But what is it to do with this? Comment ID replies, comment ID comment 2 test 1 replies. This is level 3. Yes. def and replies will be empty, and here also replies will be empty. Not sure why is this not. Let's see. Here. Okay. Comments dot map. Okay. Comments. Expected token in 55. Line 55 we have an unexpected token. 55 is this. Okay. Comments is, let's call it all comments, right? All comments and set comments. So use state, and we have all comments here. But that doesn't make any sense. Enclose return with a div. Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry. True. Let's do it like this. That, sorry. Yes, there were. I'm just returning multiple childs. My bad. चलो ऐसे कर लेते हैं, तो अभी हो गया. एंड विल इंडेंट दिस अ बिट. यस. कमेंट. अब क्या दिक्कत है इसको कि कमेंट में do we have something called display comment? Okay, it is called display comment, not a comment component. तो इसको display comment नाम देते हैं. चलो. And I think that should be good enough. Let's look and see. Okay, so test comment abcd indentation तो आ रहा है, and definitely it's not looking good. ये तो नहीं बोलूंगा कि it's looking good, but let's see something if we can do. Let's give it a span as well. Let's see. अरे मैंने h5 को क्लोज किया. हाँ, span. ठीक है. तो सोहम टेस्ट कमेंट. ओके, वी हैव टेस्ट कमेंट हियर. आफ्टर दैट abcd टेस्ट 1 def hey level 3. ठीक है. तो हाँ, मतलब इंडेंटेशन तो हो रहा है. ठीक है. सो दिस इज एक्चुअली वर्किंग. It is actually working, right? So it is indenting, and this, now we can actually make this a dynamic this as well, dynamic list as well. So before that, let me see. मतलब ठीक है, दिखने में तो जो भी लग रहा है बुरा लग रहा है, बट ठीक है, इसको तो स्टाइल वी कैन डू इट लेटर. Browser left part is hidden, not able to see, can you center? Okay, sure. Is it hidden? ठीक है, चलो मैं सेंटर कर देता हूँ. डिस अरे रुको, कमेंट कंटेनर तो नहीं कर सकते सेंटर. इसको एक डिव में रैप करने से बेटर होता. लेट मी रैप इट टू अ डिव. तो डिव है, एंड डिव है. लेट्स गिव इट अ विड्थ ऑफ 100 VW. डिस्प्ले फ्लेक्स, justify content center, align items center. ऑल्दो हाइट तो नहीं लेगा ये, हाइट ऑटो कर सकते हैं, बट ठीक है. चलो. कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो गया. डिव हो गया इधर. डिव को मैंने उल्टा क्लोज किया. सो लेट्स जस्ट क्लोज इट प्रॉपर्ली. एंड यस. सो यस. तो ऐसा दिख रहा है abc. अच्छा रुको, मतलब थोड़ा स्टाइलिंग का दिक्कत हो रहा है. abc test 1 ghi second comment is coming here. Yes, and it should be display flex. Flex direction should be column, right? Flex direction should be column, and remaining parts should be okay. So let's just see. Now it should be okay. So GHI second comment, it is getting a indentation more indented actually. Why is it getting more indented? Let me just think about that. Flex and we are giving it a height of, both of them are depth of 1, right? So we are giving both of them a depth of 1. That's fine. So what we have done essentially here is that, okay, it was getting indented properly here, but somehow it's changing. It's getting indented by a level, like somehow it is getting a margin. Let's look into this code at once and understand what is going wrong here. So okay, GHIJ, what is the style for this? This has a margin left of 10 pixel. It has a margin left of 10 pixel. What about the first one? So it has a margin left of 10 pixel as well. Justify content centered, and oh, okay, now it is coming to the next. Okay, this is no, got it. No, let me just maybe reduce this. इसको center करना है तो अलग, तो थोड़ा अलग करना पड़ेगा I think. Align item center से होगा तो कुछ नहीं, but ठीक है, चलो let's do that. Justify content. What is this this taking? Width 100 VW, it's taking the entire width. Display flex and align items will be centered. It should have been centered but will not align them yet. Okay, चलो इसको हटाते हैं. चलो let's let it be right centered for now. So you can definitely see it like this now, I think. Like it's Soham test comment, the first one. Maybe we can make the name bolder. So let's just give it let's just make the username bolder, right? So span style will be font weight will be bolder. So yes, Soham test comment, then ABCD test 1, DEF hey level 3, and GHIJ is test comment again. So it's definitely working, right? Cool. Okay, we are out of time, I don't think, but again, like we can definitely make this dynamic as well, like just add a input section, right? Like below every like give a plus sign after every comment, and if you're adding a plus, like, or give a reply button beside every comment, and if you're clicking on that reply button, you are basically like you will get a input, right? So that input will add that input will basically add to your this comment, right? Whatever is this comment, it will add to that. Maybe we can do that as well, like let's see if we can do that quickly. Map reply, and let's give a button beside this. Let's see if this button is actually coming properly or not. So reply, something like this. Let's see. Like it looks terrible, but okay, like something is, that's fine, I think. So so what you can do here, you have to do some work, I believe. You have to add a reply to this, you actually have to do some work. Like I think, yes, I think your idea was better. Like in this, it's actually difficult to add a reply because you have to modify on this object. It might become difficult. So I think it's better to parse it, like create a tree like structure instead of having comment ID and replies like this. You have the comment parent comment ID and like that, and in that case it becomes much simpler, right? Because you have both the parent comment and the child comment is what you are writing. So you will create a new comment with the parent comment by setting the parent comment ID with the ID that you have, and that should, like, then if you are able to parse that, definitely and parsing should not be difficult as well. You can just like assign a depth to everyone and then like go like process them accordingly, right? So yeah, like you have to do it like that only. Parsing them actually might be a bit it might be a bit difficult, because this parsing is simple. You are just going through the replies. In the other case, if you're processing in the other way, like if you are having a comment id, parent comment id, you might have to actually go through all the comments whose parent comment id is the given comment. So those will be the replies for this. You have to like filter those out, and then you have to like run this, do this same thing, like this exact thing, right? So you have to do it like this. In this case, it's difficult to add replies because it's you have to basically modify on this, right? So it will be difficult like this. So generally, like I would say, generally when you are using a backend and a front end, if you just have a front end, if you are building just a front end system, I think it's better to be parsing it like parent comment id and then filtering all the replies for the given comment like that. But if you actually have the support of a backend, in the backend you will be storing in a normal SQL like database like parent comment id like that. When you are actually coming to front end, when you are getting the data in front end, you will actually create a structure like this, because this is easier to be rendered, right? This is easier to be rendered. You don't have to actually filter anything. This is easier to be like this structure is easier to be rendered. So what you have to do is you have to convert that to this kind of structure, and then you like it will be a one time job after you like once you fetch it from the API call, and after that you can just render it, right? So that I think that will make more sense. Okay. So yes, but adding a comment, like adding a reply, you can just what you can do is you can add a text input here. Like you can whenever you click on this reply, you can show a text input after this, and there you can write the reply. And yes, you can. Yes, we can definitely. But again, in UL tag, for each reply, we can have a UL tag. Yes, definitely we can do that. That also that also will work. We can have a UL tag instead of doing a margin left. You can give a UL tag and it will display in a nested fashion. That also definitely will work. Yes. But anyways, this is a good question actually. This is a very, I think this can be a good interview question. How would you display this? And if it has to be made dynamic, again, like you have to store it differently. You have to store it like parent and child. And here what you have to do, here you have to filter them out, right? You have to filter all the comments out whose parent ID is this current comment. That means these are the replies, right? So you filter them out and you then display something like that. Cool. Is this clear with everyone? I'm not sure how many people are watching, but again, like, is this clear with everyone? uh will we have another class? No, for now at least no, like not here, but somewhere else definitely. Like I'll be there will be some things I'll tell later on, but again, like here it will be paused for some time. The channel will be paused for some time because of some reason. So once it is resumed, definitely there will be classes. So after that, definitely try joining in, but for now it will be paused for some time. Okay. Chalo fit, we are already ahead of time, so I'll be meeting you later someday, right? So take care and thanks for joining. Chalo, good night.